This is an update for Cannon Hinnant's murder on Sunday of just 4 days ago, looks like. Now, today Matt Walsh and Steven Crowder actually talked about this briefly, but that's good because they didn't even know about it up until now because it was not being reported. My question is, to you viewing audience out there, is why this isn't being projected onto the mainstream media. I'm talking about ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, Fox News. Because if you type in Cannon Hinnant, you get this update here from WSOC, a smaller market news organization, small town news. NC man accused of shooting 5-year-old neighbor in head at point blank range. Okay. That's all we know. It says Cannon Hinnant murdered. This is from YouTube. This is from Mug Club. This is Steven Crowder's one. And my video obviously didn't get it. It got a lot of hits, but it didn't get it as much as Steven Crowder. That's good because this needs to go out, regardless of how small. Even if you get one view on a video talking about this horrible murder, that's all that needs to be done. Obviously, I would love for politicians to address this issue. Now, as you can see, the Sun Times, GoFundMe, independent.co.uk. People magazine, I'll just address that story real quick. WSPA, family now seeks justice for Wilson boy killed, man captured. You already know about that. Now, who is Mekhi James? Well, let's go to his GoFundMe. A fundraiser for family of Mekhi James, a 3-year-old boy who was killed on the west side, Chicago, has raised more than $9,000 in 5 days. And by the way, if you can donate to Mekhi James GoFundMe, please do. This is somewhat similar incidents what happened to Cannon. Unfortunately, Cannon's murder was, let's just say, more in your face and more egregious. So, Mekhi James was shot and killed June 20th in Austin. One of the more than 100 people shot that weekend throughout the city, his youngest of several children killed during the bloody weekend. James was killed when a gunman fired into the car of his stepfather. Police said his stepfather was thought to be an intended target. Mayor Lori Lightfoot condemned the James death as heinous. At least she addresses something. Unconscionable act of cowardice. So, now, the intended target wasn't the little boy, but the end result was the same thing. Terrible. Now, if we go over to this one, this happened after Mekhi James. I didn't get the name for this young boy who was killed. It says, 22-year-old woman was driving home from her laundromat with her child when another vehicle pulled up and someone inside fired at least 7 shots. The police says, I don't think it's random because of the amount of times it was fired upon. The boy who was sitting in the car seat in the back of the vehicle was struck in the chest, police said. The mother suffered a graze wound to the head. Now, I got to list how sad the story is because she didn't even want to go and get her wound taken care of because she didn't want to leave where her child was. The fatal shooting comes after a 3-year-old boy, Mekhi James, was killed on his way home from a haircut last weekend. He was also right in the back seat of a car when he was shot and killed last Saturday. But, like I said, did the mainstream media news cover this? Chicago Tribune, I guess that makes something. The Daily Beast, of course. People magazine. Oh, okay. Looks like NBC News covered this. abcnews.go.com. I guess that's something. But they didn't really... You see, if this would have happened, let's say a white police officer would have done this, we'd have more riots. Now, I think there's some parallels here. It's not exactly a causation, I guess. But I think there's some parallels to think about this here. Think about this before I continue on. Who was doing the shooting, and who was the victim? Well, the shootings that we know of, one with Cannon, was from an African American gentleman. I use gentleman very loosely here. Now, he is innocent until proven guilty, yada, yada, yada. We understand that. He is the one who's been charged with Cannon's murder. Now, if we go to Mekhi James and the other one-year-old boy that was killed, they haven't found who did it. Because what happened is that there were drive-by shootings. The intended target was first the stepfather, and then the second one was, who knows, they just fired into a car, and he hit that one child in the chest and killed it in the car seat. So we can assume that there's not a roving band of gangster Caucasians roaming around that part of Chicago. So what we can assume or presuppose here is that the killers in these instances of Mekhi James and the other toddler were in fact African American people living within Chicago. Now, I know what you're going to say, well, we don't really know, so you can't make that assumption. I'm predisposing here. I'm making an assumption here, if you will, with the evidence known of what happens in Chicago. Most of the shooting victims are indeed African American. But every weekend this happens. Does the mainstream media news cover it? No. Maybe Fox News covers it every once in a while, and some of their pundits will bring it up. But that's about it. It doesn't really get, I guess, there's no, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not influence, but there's no focus on what happens in Chicago. That's what I'm looking for. The focus. Why not? Well, in my opinion, it seems that what happens in Chicago is what it is. It happens every weekend, every 7 days. The shootings and the deaths go up. We all accept that for what it's worth. We all accept that it's happening, and, well, we can't do nothing about it. Even the recent looting and riots this past weekend, we accept that in Chicago because it's what's supposed to happen. In my opinion, that's bullcrap. Already the President of the United States has said, hey, I'm more than happy to help. Let me know what I can do. And Lori Lightfoot, the mayor, of course, she says, no, I have it under control. And she doesn't have it under control. And there's even talk in the news cycle recently of sending in the National Guard. I even posed that many months ago. I said, hey, this is out of control. We should send the National Guard in there to tamp things down peacefully. People out there, I know what you're thinking. You just want to go into a predominantly African-American neighborhood and tamp. No, that's where the problem is. And if we can't stop the violence and deaths, then why even do anything about it? Why even talk about it? Why even act surprised when toddlers are killed? And it doesn't matter which race it is, because this is bullcrap. Do you think these 3 toddlers, why? Why shoot them? Why? Especially Cannon. Why shoot him in the head? Why? Makes no sense. Why gun down or try to shoot somebody in a car and miss, and you shoot the stepfather, Mekhi James, this little toddler dies? Why? Why does this happen? Because honestly, silence is deafening here. Because they don't want to do anything about it. They just accept this level of violence. Yeah, okay, we'll accept that. I think most of the country's accepted it. We're like, yeah, we don't like it, but what can we do? I don't know. I have no idea. What can we do? National Guard. That makes sense. If a city is out of control with murder and violence, etc., and the police can't control it, obviously, always the police in Chicago, 99% of the time, arrive after the violence has happened. Because they can't go, patrol a wide swath like that. They don't have a huge budget, and especially now when they want to slash the budget in Chicago by 50%, they back down. This is just par for the course. We're accepting this, and we shouldn't as Americans, accept this level of violence going on. Now, let me go to this right here. This is the most updated article in People magazine. 5-year-old boy is shot at point-blank range while playing in front yard and neighbor is charged. The night after the alleged killer had dinner with the slain boy's father. Amazing. As I already talked about the story, this sort of talked about it a little bit. There's not much more to say. He's been charged, held on like no bond. I always like this. A motive for the shooting is still unknown. Who cares? We don't know the motive for the shooting of Mekhi James and this other young toddler. We don't know. Why don't we know? Because I guess it doesn't matter, right? You're in Chicago. You're guilty of something, right? Which is bullcrap. Are we? I just don't. I mean, other than myself talking about this, what else can we do? Other than, I guess, send the National Guard in because that's too contentious. Oh, we can't stop the violence, so we just allow it to continue? That doesn't make any sense. And by the way, here is Mekhi James Relief Fund. Unfortunately, there's only about $16,000. Why? We gave $20,000 to that Kroger manager that was berated by that, mask wearing Karen. Why can't we get this kid $100,000? Doesn't make any sense. Does he not deserve it? He was 3 years old. He didn't have any politics. He was busy playing with, toys and, getting his hair cut. And this is what we're gonna do? We're going to accept Mekhi James being killed, and that's it, right? We're gonna accept Cannon Hinnant being killed because of the person who shot him is the wrong skin color. That sounds part of racist to me, doesn't it? And same thing with the 1-year-old Inglewood boy that was killed. Do we just accept? Do we accept this? So this is where we're at in this country, where we get upset depending on the skin color of the murderer. I guess that's what it is now. Is that in total we care more about the skin color of the perpetrator than we do of the victim. That's bullcrap. I'm at a loss for words. I think I told my wife about this. She was like, she's obviously visibly disgusted about it. Because, I have a lot of nieces and nephews that are within that age range of 1 to 5, and I can't imagine if something were to happen to them. That's ridiculous. I don't know if there's any much to say for this. If you wanted, the GoFundMe for Cannon Hinnant was closed, and then they said you donate to the funeral home, I guess. I don't know what the funeral home is. I can take a quick look here at this news article. This is 5 hours ago. Yeah, let's look at this guy. He's someone you bring home for Christmas dinner. Darius Nathaniel Sessoms. Let's see. It says police officer Wilson apartment. Family members told WRAL that Cannon Hinnant was playing outside. Got it. Let's see for the purpose. Okay, a GoFundMe page has been set up for Cannon's family. The page has a beautiful 5-year-old boy riding his bicycle was shot by his neighbor point blank in Wilson, North Carolina. 1 minute he was enjoying life, the next minute it all ends because he rode into a neighbor's yard. So yeah, I don't know. They didn't. I guess his GoFundMe's back up. So please donate to. I don't know this other young toddler's name, or I give out his GoFundMe. I hope you can find it. I wasn't able to find it on a cursory search. Mekhi James and Cannon Hinnant did not need to be murdered. They just didn't. Both children should be alive right now. Should be alive. Unfortunately, we live in a society now where I guess their deaths don't really matter. And you know what? That's just a goddamn shame.